Bonjour à tous, Marc-André Piette from Hylands Golf Club joining you for the 7th week of the program. Now that the fundamental basics are figured out, now that we understand everything that we should do before we swing, we're actually going to talk about the golf swing. Everybody's a bit different in terms of swing, on how they're going to take the club back, how their muscles are working with them, but one of the things that's really key is to understand how to rotate. So if you can take away from this lesson today just an understanding on how the shoulders or the upper body should rotate around the spine, that should be the main instruction you should be thinking about the golf swing throughout your summer. So what's really key here to understand is that there's an awful lot of talk about weight transfer into the golf swing, but really what we want to make sure we do is that we transfer our weight while turning properly. So if I explain this, if I just stand natural, most people, if you put a club on your shoulders this way and you rotate to your back foot, you'll feel that there'll be pressure or weight that will travel towards your back heel, and then you go forward, the weight or pressure will travel to your forward heel. The same sensation is what we're going to try to get into our golf swing. So we get into our proper posture here, and then we're going to try to rotate the shoulders around our spine in such a way that the weight is going to travel to my back heel or my back foot, and then forward, same thing to my forward heel, my forward foot. So if we turn earlier this way around our spine, you're going to see that as I'm standing up over the ball, my upper body is slightly tilted forward, and therefore my left shoulder or my front shoulder is going to go a little bit downwards. But it is not going down this way because my weight then goes to my front foot. It's going to go more around where my weight now goes to my back foot. So just a great exercise you can do at home. Derek is going to follow up with exercises you can do also in preparation of your golf game. Just understanding that when we're turning, we have our full upper body rotated behind the ball in such a way that my weight travels to my back foot. So with that instruction, keep in mind that first off, do everything you can to be successful before you swing. And then once you swing, just make sure that you rotate the upper body around the spine, and then the weight transfers to your back foot. So Derek is going to follow up shortly with great mobility exercise that's going to help you increase the rotation you'll be able to do during the golf swing. And we'll see you next week.
Welcome back, CAF members. Derek Lacelle, FSI, TPI certified coach here with you. We are here for week 7. We're approaching the end of our virtual program. Week 7, we're talking about thoracic rotation and shoulder turn. So what we're going to look to work on this week is going to be your chest, your shoulders, your lats, and a little bit of upper back, starting with the mobility in part 1 today. And then we're going to go to strengthening those areas to aid in that shoulder turn. For somebody who has trouble turning their shoulders through the golf swing or turning their shoulders in the backswing, this stuff is going to really help you out this week. So stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming for you. The first day today, the mobility stuff, what we're going to start with is soft tissue work. So soft tissue work, you can use a variety of different tools here depending on what you have at home. You can use a foam roller. You can use any kind of massage ball, a lacrosse ball. There's yoga tune-up balls, that kind of stuff. If you're somebody who's never done this before, a great way to get started is to use a wall, because you can control how much pressure you're putting into each muscle group as you try and release some of the tension in the muscle. Okay, so the 3 areas we're going to look at is going to be the chest, the shoulders, and the lats. So for the chest on the wall, I would be using a ball. Obviously, I'm not going to go with the foam roller. Foam roller is only going to help if we go to the ground. So what we're going to look for is we're going to grab the ball, we're going to put it against the wall, and the area that we want to work on is from basically the top of the shoulder, just inside the armpit, and we're going to work our way down that lateral portion of the chest to allow for more external rotation in the arm. So I'm just pressing gently into the wall, I'm gonna do the movement from my legs, okay? So my legs are what move me side to side, back and forth, up and down. You can go in circles. The best way to work here is gonna be to go across the muscle fibers. So instead of going straight up and down the muscle fibers, try and work across the muscle fibers. 1 to 2 minutes per side, per area, okay? If you're working on the shoulders, just press into the shoulders. You can work around the whole shoulder joint, but what we're looking for is to release or to loosen up any kind of tight tissue. So any areas that you feel that are really quite painful when you press on, there's tend to have some tighter muscle tissue there. So you want to work on that area a little bit more. And then the lat, which is going to start at the bottom of the armpit and work its way down the lateral part of the shoulder blade, is where you want to work on the lat. And same thing, just rolling back and forth across the fiber. You can go with arm up, you can go with arm down, you can go with arm across the body, but you're just going to work on those 3 areas for 1 to 2 minutes per area, per side is what I want you to do. If you have a foam roller at home, you can do the same thing, but lying on it. So working on the lats would look something like this with the arm above. You can go with the arm bent. You can roll side to side. You can use your body to roll up and down. But again, you want to avoid pinning the muscle too firmly against the bone, because what happens then is that all you feel is a pinching sensation. You really want to roll across the muscle. So if you feel anything like bone, then try and stay away from that. Try and go more for the muscle. If you're going for the chest, then you're just going to roll over closer to the stomach. I like to do this one with a bent elbow. And again, I'm just rolling back and forth. I can roll side to side. I can lift my hand and lift my elbow, so alternate that way. Just trying to mash up that muscle tissue a little bit. So 1 to 2 minutes per muscle group per side. The second exercise, you're going to be needing a wall for the next 2. So the first one's going to be a half kneeling shoulder circle. So with the half kneeling shoulder circle, we're going to go inside knee closest to the wall is going to be against the wall. Hands together. You're going to try and keep your hip as close to the wall as possible. And then we're going to go for a shoulder circle. Hand comes to the hip, keeping the arm straight. We're going to bring it back down. If you're somebody who has some tightness in the upper spine and shoulder area, you may have to lean away from the wall slightly to get it all the way down and all the way back. But the goal of the exercise here is to stay as close to the wall as possible, elbow to stay as straight as possible, and we're trying to keep the hand from touching the wall. Okay, so that's exercise number 2. Number 3, we're going to go away from the shoulder and we're going to work on the chest. So now the leg closest to the wall is bent. You're going to push that hip into the wall. The leg away from the wall is your that's where your weight's going to be, on your knee and this foot. And now we're going to go for a rotary motion. So you're going to push this knee into the wall as we try and rotate through, and then we come back. So a big exhale. What I want you to avoid doing is letting your knee roll out. Think about pushing your knee in as you rotate towards the opposite side of the wall, keeping your hip that's closest to the wall against the wall, okay? Again, the more you use your breath, the more you relax, the more you open through the chest. You're going to do that on both sides because they are unilateral movements. Golf stance, straight arm rotation is exercise number 4. So for this one, you're going to take your golf stance, hands in front of you as if you were holding a 5-iron or a 7-iron, some kind of mid-iron. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate one way. And you're just rotating through the torso. The legs, the hips, notice there's no movement here. I'm really looking for rotary movement in the upper body. Hands come back together. And then I'm going to alternate sides. And if you're somebody who's stiffer through that mid-spine, through the shoulders, you'll notice that there's less turn, which is okay. Just work with what you got to start with. But what I want you to avoid is trying to get a full turn by moving the hips. We're going to try and lock down the hips so that the movement only comes through the shoulders and the thoracic spine. Exercise number 5, you're going to need something to press into. So I have some medicine balls here. The exercise is called a pillow press though. So it's called a pillow press. You can use some pillows. You can use some different kinds of balls that you have at home. So if you have some kids at home that have some toy balls as well that you can press into, or a volleyball or a soccer ball, that works as well. But one's going to be high and one's going to be low. And the reason for this is we're going to bend the knees, one elbow. So this elbow, I'm going into internal rotation. So I'm actually pressing down into the ball this way. And for the opposite arm, I'm going into external rotation. So I'm going to press with the back of my palm into the pillow or into the ball in the opposite direction. Okay, so what we want to do is one arm is pressing down, one arm is pressing up, but you want the elbows. I know you can't see me here. It's going to look like this. So we're going 90 degrees at one elbow, 90 degrees down at the opposite elbow. And we're going to do 10 to 12 reps where we're going to press into the ball as hard as we can, keeping the elbows off the ground for 5 seconds, and then relax. So I'm going to push down with external rotation with my left hand. I'm going to push down with internal rotation with my right hand, 5 seconds, and relax. You're going to do that 10 to 12 times on one side, and then you're going to do it 10 to 12 times on the other side. The last exercise that I have for your external rotation and thoracic area today is going to be a prone bent elbow lift off with external rotation. So what we're going to do here, you only need one at a time. You're going to use the same object. You can also use a yoga block, will work as well. But what we're going to do here is we're going to lie on our stomach in a prone position. Your elbow is going to be pressing into the object to start at 90 degrees. From here, you're going to lift your elbow off, and then we're going to try and rotate into external rotation and relax. Okay, so I'm trying not to do too much with my upper body. I'm just going to use the back of my shoulder to lift off, rotate, down, and relax. Again, we're going to do this for about 10 to 12 reps on one side where I focus on my lift off, that external rotation. The big issue here with the external rotation is that a lot of people go and they think of bending their wrist. It has nothing to do with bending of the wrist. It has everything to do with rotation at the forearm level. Okay, so just make sure you're rotating through the forearm and not thinking about bending the wrist. Those are your 6 exercises that you're going to use for mobility to correct some of the movement issues that you have with your chest, your shoulders, and your lat, which will all allow you to unlock some of that stiffness to allow for better shoulder turn in your golf swing. We'll see you next time.